That makes sense.
It's all good though. We'll figure it out. We're gonna be doing some more recording, and you can
Oh
still
yeah.
do you could still do your SummerSlam review. Or at least you know what I was gonna tell you. I was like, we don't have to review match for match. You can go over the more important parts. That way,
Oh,
whenever you share it, whoever wants to kind of drop in and listen to what you had to say about SummerSlam, because I know you got certain people that follow you and listen to you. You can let them know, hey, like I kind of put my little critiques out there because I mean, as much as people try to shit on pro wrestling, it actually is. It's stayed relevant, and it seems like it's still in the news, man. It's kind of interesting, you know.
exactly. Just just think about pro wrestling. People say, "Oh, it's fake and all that," but in reality, these guys taking bumps and bruises and all that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, it's 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 fake in the sense that it is kind of there's kind of a story arc that you have to follow, but I mean, shit. You want to find out how fake it is? Get in there. You know what I'm saying? You better believe I ain't gonna tell nobody. Uh, it's fake. You know what I mean? You better believe if I see Brock Lesnar coming down the street, I ain't gonna be like, "Hey, you're the guy that does the fake stuff, right?" Oh, hell no.
Exactly. Yeah, I had to move my phone to the other room because I hear an echo.
All right. Yeah, brother. You just give me the cue.
Oh,
We'll
I'm
get it
ready.
cracking.
I'm ready.
Yeah. I'll let you count it down whenever you want to start. And I know this is your break the walls down room, so if you want to do the intro, go for it.
All right. Welcome to Break the Wall Down. And today we talk about Vince McMahon. Yes, Vince McMahon had to retire because of a sexual misconduct. So I got my boy Juan with me. Juan, we think about that one.
Man, honestly, dude, and by the way, hello everybody. It's Juan Manjo over here. Lifelong fan of the pro wrestling game. Man, to be honest with you, I was not surprised in the sense that from watching these programs over the years and the shit that he would put on. Um, I mean, the dude always liked to promote tits and ass as far as the wrestling game was concerned. And if you're keeping it funky, pro wrestling really isn't. I mean, in a lot of circles, if you talk to the vets, if you talk to the veterans, if you talk to your Jim Cornettes, if you talk to maybe even your Arn Andersons, like they're not really fans of bringing that, the whole tits and ass and you know, rest putting on female wrestlers just because of the way they look. They're not really what would I say? They're not really fans of that. So as far as following the Attitude Era and everything that followed after that, I mean, I just wasn't surprised. What did what did you think, man? Like, what was whenever you saw that pop up on your your news feed or even on your YouTube or your Facebook? What was your first thought, man? Because obviously it was real. It wasn't no bullshit, you know.
Yeah, the first thing came to my mind was eventually, he's gonna come out because it seemed like everything was, too good to be true. Vince McMahon, all of a sudden you see all these females coming out of nowhere. Hot females at that. Don't get me wrong, hot female, but I said to myself, what did Vince got to do? He gets something to do because ain't no way he just had these females. Some of them, they had to look, but they didn't have the skills. So I said to myself, Vin gets something to do because there's no way he just cut him a check, and go out there out there and perform in front of thousand people and flop. I said to myself, I said, you know what? I think Vince have an affair, with some of these females, and it came out years later. It came out.
And I looked it up. I knew we were going to do the podcast today. Finally, I did look up as far as because I think they're currently no, I don't think I know they're still currently investigating him. the WWE board is investigating him. And this is interesting that a lot of people were talking about. As far as I think Jim Cornette covered it, I think Jim Ross he's always. If you want to look, by the way, if you want to listen, Marcus, I know I sent you a link to Bruce Pritchard's podcast, but man, I tell you, Jim Ross is always. He's probably one of the most unbiased dudes, and I think sometimes he can kind of sound like he's upset by something, but he still kind of plays it down. He's like, you know what, I'm not upset, but I'm gonna speak my opinion on whatever the subject matter is that they bring up, whoever the co-host brings up, because sometimes they'll ask him shit about, because obviously Vince McMahon's always been an asshole, from everybody, to the female wrestlers, to the men wrestlers, to the commentators, to everybody. But what I was gonna say was, if you want to listen to a good podcast where a guy gives his take of what's going on with this and is a little more neutral, because Jim Cornette's kind of a dick. I would say Jim Ross, but he is currently still being investigated, and it was, as far as the investigation at this exact moment today as we're recording, there's 3 employees that he paid off, and a wrestler that supposedly he paid off as well. I'm very curious to find out who everybody is. Obviously, I really would like to know who the wrestler is. And as far as what money came up missing, like I said, I was doing a little research on the 25th of July, last month. Um, I don't know how they audit the books, and like I said, they're a publicly traded company now. So obviously, he going public and getting investors into the WWE and basically selling stock in the company is kind of what fucked his shit up in the first place. Because if he was just left to run the company by himself, I don't think anybody would be investigating him, because he would have no one to answer to. But since he's getting that stock payer money, basically he's getting, outside resource money. He's getting money funneled into the company. I mean, he's not stupid either. He's trying to make his money. But what I'm trying to say is, they were looking at his finances from 2002 through 2006, which is crazy because we're now in 2022, and it was $14.6 million that they found, that was basically money that was spent with a blank reason to it, next to it. So basically, they were doing the research, and they're like, "Hey, there's $14.6 million here that just says it was spent, but it doesn't say what it was spent on." So I'm just, like I said, like that's why I was asking you, what was the first thing that came to your mind, and I kind of agree with you in the sense that I know there's always been, like, he obviously wasn't just putting these women on for no reason. Obviously, even if, let's say, he wasn't getting anything out of it, he at least got to put them in the ring and, get to see their tits flop around or something. I don't fucking know, but I'm just he's still being investigated right now. I think that's the trippiest part. And obviously, John Laurinaitis is dumbass. I think he's suspended.
He's fired.
Um,
He's out of there.
he's
He
he's
fired.
yeah, exactly. Has he been suspended, or has he been officially fired?
Yeah, today he been officially fired today. They
Yeah, Lee.
no longer in the company no more.
Good Lord, man. So there's a lot of fallout, man. But yeah, I agree with you, man. And if you think about it, if you think about, like I said, the Attitude Era and all these other things, there wasn't too many females on there. Like, I remember when Sable was on there. When basically, whenever the show would turned to really hardcore, like chicks and thongs and, boobs everywhere, man. I remember even whenever Sunny was around, and don't get me wrong, Sunny was gorgeous.
Yes.
They never really had her, like, doing too much of the shit that Sable did, and I want to say that was like 97, and on. And I remember seeing that, and I completely agree with you. Like, I was like, I know for a fact this guy is not like Vince. Vince is like, oh man, like, hey, have you seen Sable do a DDT? Oh man, she would be, we would get all the female fans. She can really do a body slam. Like, come on, man. We know damn well he put Sable out there because he saw, he was like, shit, like, she's over here. she starts shaking that ass on camera, man. Like, she's gonna sell these shirts. She's gonna, or we're gonna get more viewers. We're gonna get more, we're gonna get more guys wanting to watch the show. And obviously, he gets something out of it. We don't, like you said, we don't know what he was doing backstage.
Right.
And then it became Sable. Then it became Trish Stratus. Then I remember seeing Tori,
Yes.
who was with Kane, and I remember thinking, man, she is smoking hot. Like I remember just on the, I don't remember her face being so hot, but I remember the body being banging. I remember Jacqueline. I remember they had Jacqueline out there, uh, with like a string bikini. Man, I still remember. I used to get the VHSs back in the day. That's how much of a, obviously, and I know you used to be a VHS kid too, because
Of
we watched
course.
the game. We watched the game so long. But I remember seeing Jacqueline out there doing the bikini contest with Sable, and then, like I said, it was Trish Stratus. Then it was Tori. Then eventually, who else did they bring in? I know they had Ivory, and then they had a Jerry the
Tori
King
Wilson.
Lawler's chick.
Yep.
They had all the chicks from WCW. They got Stacy
Yes.
Keebler and they got Tori Wilson, and then I remember they brought the ECW chicks in. They had Candice Michelle. Then they started doing the Divas search. And in the back, like you said, it's not like he was hiring these chicks because he's like, I'm gonna put the belt on this one and she's gonna be a great role model for girls out there, and man, look at her arms, and she could, oh my God, like, look, I'm gonna put her in an Iron Man match. We know for damn sure that Vince was probably scheming behind the scenes, and then not only that, he was hiring these girls on looks, man, and it's I've always thought Vince is, it, you know, for as much as of a good businessman and as much as he pushed the platform of the WWE, he did put a lot of guys on. He to this day, the WWE is the biggest company out there. I'm just I'm just in I'm just like I said, my mind is blown in the sense that, this guy, man, you know, it's a joke, man. Like, this dude is a billionaire. He's been a millionaire. He could go to any titty bar he wants and get whatever he wants. I don't understand why even bother doing this shit. It's just the most confusing shit ever. You feel me?
Exactly. And as you think about, as I really, really think about it now, this is when I knew something was going wrong. Remember back, I think I like in what, junior high then? Like you said, when Sable, she was the first female ever to come out with Playboy in WWE. Right then and there, there's a red flag to myself. Say, okay, why you got this woman out here in a Playboy, and it's underage kids and all that, watching this television show, and right then that's okay. Suddenly, right there, all of a sudden you saw China, then you saw more and more divas, flip over to Playboy and WWE because I think I don't know. It's something wrong with Vince. It's like you have a sex with younger females. Like you got a whole wife, and you got to realize you have a daughter about the same age group as them. So that law right there made me think some type of way about Vince because it's like, to me it's sickening because why are you constantly sitting there and just pretty much forcing the females to do what they want to do, bribing, okay, if you don't do this, we're gonna release you. So to me,
Which eventually became, it's funny you say that, which eventually, that's why Sable quit after a while.
yes,
She had that whole thing where she dipped because of what you just said. He was forcing her to do some shit that she didn't want to, and she basically was like, look, bro, like, I ain't doing it, like you said.
like for example, it's crazy because CJ Perry, no as Lana said, she said her own mouth that she was so uncomfortable when Vince McMahon put her in the storyline with Dolph Ziggler and then rehearse kids in front of him. That long right there, it's it's sickening. Why would you
You,
constantly? It's just sickening. Why would you do that?
and you know what's wild about that, Marcus, and I'm so glad. You know what's crazy is while I was doing research for this recording, before literally like 30 minutes ago before we got on, I saw that story on the news ticker because I looked up Vince McMahon as a keyword under news just to see what different news networks were covering about him, and I saw the thing about CJ Perry, aka Lana. And I just think to myself, what does that have to do with wrestling, man? Like, keeping it 100. Like, what does that have to do with anything that relates to wrestling at all? You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
And
I
you
mean, who
know,
wouldn't be uncomfortable? Unless, and I'm gonna tell you
exactly.
something, unless we're paid actors or something. I mean, that's one thing, right? Like if you're, I mean,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like if you're in a movie or something, or if you're on, I don't know, if you're on TV, on whatever, you know what I'm saying? Whatever show is, on Netflix or whatever, that's one thing. I mean, this woman signed up to be a wrestler. This guy, Dolph Ziggler, who's a phenomenal wrestler, by the way.
Right.
I mean, what does that have to do with him? You know what I mean? Laying out a match, on the show. I mean, it's insane. And like you said, it's sick, man. Like that's shit a sick motherfucker does. I mean, let's call it how it is. I mean,
Yeah.
something's wrong with the
My
guy.
exact. My thing is, I believe, and I might be wrong. Hopefully, I might be wrong, but I believe that's one of the reasons why they released Lana because she didn't want to do what he wanted her to do behind closed doors. That's
Well,
why I
let's
really
not for
believe.
and we'll transition here shortly into how the company is going to look without Vince, and
Right.
as far as like Vince's legacy, and not only in pro wrestling but for the company. But like, I think they started doing that shit to her also because she was I think if I'm not mistaken, she basically had told them like she didn't, if I'm not mistaken, she had basically put it out there that she didn't really care to be there anymore.
Yeah.
Her husband dipped,
Right.
and he didn't. He was already. He was. I mean, obviously. I mean, who's gonna? I'm no offense. Who was gonna tell Rusev, aka Miro, that to his face that that he was this or he was that because he wanted to quit? It wasn't nobody gonna say nothing to that man. So of course he leaves, and then what do they do? And once again, we're gonna get to this topic, but what do? They start messing with his wife. With his it is his wife now, right?
Yes. Yes. I always been
They
wife.
start,
Yes.
yeah, okay, it's always been his wife. So of
Yes.
course they start putting her through tables, and they got Nia Jackson's big 300-pound ass over there body slamming her and shit. It's like it's just horrible, man. Yeah, they started. I think it's partly because of the whole she was uncomfortable and probably said something about it, and she didn't want to go along with it. Like you said, she didn't want to go along with their
Right.
plans. It's not only that; it's also the fact that her man quit, and then she didn't want to be there. So, and that's what I'm saying. Just Vince is a sick motherfucker, man. Like for as many people give him praise, I think he's kind of a fucking just like I told you. I think he's a stupid fuck, man.
Exactly. Like you said, I'm not gonna state the person's name, but when they heard about CJ Perry getting released, they was upset because they said, okay, y'all put it through table, y'all sent it through hell and everything else, and y'all gonna turn around and release her. Y'all pretty much fed to the wolf and dump outside pretty much. That
Oh,
person he was hot
absolutely.
about it. He was hot
Yeah,
about it. He like I don't understand this woman. She gave everything she had, and y'all just fed to the woods and just dump out like she trash.
yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. I mean Vince. I've kind of come. I didn't used to think too highly of him. I remember as a kid watching the Bret Hart documentary that I put you onto, the one Wrestling with Shadows. Remember we talked about it when we still worked at River City.
Yes.
I remember watching that and thinking, man, like if there was one guy that wasn't going to do anything dishonorable, because I always had that feeling that he wanted to keep the bridge open. He was always a good soldier with Bret. And then Vince is, I think ultimately it was Vince not getting what he wanted. It was him not getting what he wanted from Bret. So he kind of screwed him. I never had an opinion against or for Vince, but I was always like there's just something odd about him. I remember always thinking that like he just doesn't seem like a good guy. And then he did so many interviews. He's done a couple interviews on HBO where he's very confrontational and very insecure. And I think whenever you're speaking with someone, and this just goes to anything, I think when you speak to someone and someone's comfortable in their own skin, or someone's just comfortable. Someone's just like they're not they don't get rattled quick. I don't think they respond the way this guy does. And by the way, Marcus, if you haven't seen him, there's if you could always YouTube. There's an interview. I want to say there's two. No, there's two interviews. There's one he did on Costas Now with Bob Costas on HBO, where he basically wants to get in Bob's face. He kind of
I
he kind of
remember
starts
that.
leaning in. Yeah,
I
he
remember
tries to
that.
he starts to lean into that one, and then he did one on HBO's Real Sports where he actually slapped the papers out of the interviewer's hand. And I think that the guy was kind of like, like you can keep going. I'm gonna press charges. And I think whoever was on the WWE side producing for Vince was like, hey, like you need to chill. Like you don't need to be doing that. So like I said, there was something always odd about him. But now that this comes out, I mean,
Yeah,
it just kind of if you had a bad feeling about this guy, he basically just validated that feeling of kind of like you thinking that he's a dick or kind of shady or kind of gross or not kind
right.
of but gross.
Gross.
He validated your opinion on him because man, like this stuff is out there, man. And also real quick, I know we're still talking about that, but we're still talking about the whole Vince and the chicks and stuff. And I was like I said, I was taking notes. In 1992, Rita Chatterton, who was one of the WWF's, if I'm not mistaken, she was the first WWF female official. Um,
Yes.
she basically was and I think she tried to file no, I think she filed a police report. I don't think it went anywhere. Um, she was forced to give Vince a blowjob in his limo to keep her job, and she basically did it to keep her job, and that was from 1992. So this is a separate thing. This is a
It's
separate thing that happened along with the other four people that he paid off.
it's a
And
trend.
I like, yeah, it's absolutely where there's smoke, there's fire. And another thing too, it's like this started on June 22nd. I'm sure the investigation has started even more so after before that. And then the news broke on June 22nd. Then there's more, there more news coming out in July. There's still news coming out today as we speak today, August 9th. Excuse me, August 8th. Um, I'm just my whole thing with him is and I'm gonna transition to this point a little bit. Like he's got all these allegations coming out, and then he still has the nerve to go on the show and kind of write himself into the shows. If we remember well, the I want to say was it SmackDown he appeared on whenever this stuff came out.
Yes, he was on SmackDown.
He
He came on like you said, he came on the show like nothing ever happened.
but I think it was also him saying basically like yeah, I'm being investigated and what like basically to the people that were like investigating him, it's almost like he couldn't help himself. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be on my show. I'm gonna write myself into my show." And this is a guy that hasn't really been on the show that much until maybe last year.
Right.
He'd been staying off the show because obviously, if you remember, he tried to take a stunner at WrestleMania, and I mean the guy had spaghetti legs basically. Like he had no business being in the ring. Period for anything, for anything that's anything. And we're talking about going into last year or WrestleMania, and now the allegations come out, and he puts himself on his own show. I just think it's such a, it's once again, it's one of those things where you go, man, this guy just does not know when to chill the fuck out. This guy just does not know when to just, sit his ass down and be respectful. Like he just does not know how to be respectful.
Yeah, it make a lot of sense now. It make totally a lot of sense now. He did not want any male wrestler involved with no female wrestler at all. If he found out about that, they get suspended or get fired. It make a lot of sense now because he wanted them all to himself. That's what it was.
Oh, most definitely. But not only that, it's one of those things where the guy's always kind of been this kind of like wannabe alpha male. Uh, and the only reason I say wannabe is because, I mean, at the end of the day, why did wrestlers still get with certain girls? Because what was Vince gonna do? Vince wasn't about to go. Vince wasn't about to get in nobody's face. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
we're talking about the softest dude in the room. When you gotta politic and you gotta fuck with people's checks and you gotta fuck with people's jobs and you gotta force people into positions that they don't want to be in because you're the boss. That don't say shit about you, man. That's pathetic, man. That's something a fucking punk does. Which is
Absolutely.
why I go and it's funny is that if you happen to share this podcast episode that we're recording today on YouTube, I'll give you 100% permission screenshot all the text messages I've sent you because
Yeah.
I do, for any audience that will have listening, I can't stand that, man. I've never been one to do that. I would never do that if I ever get into a position of, and right now I'm starting nursing school in January. You better believe if I ever work my way to be a doctor and be the boss, you better damn sure believe I'm not gonna be like, oh, you can't date this guy or this and that, or I'm the boss and and I need you to do this so you can get this. And I mean like I said, man, that's some hoe shit, man. That's some punk shit. Like
Exactly.
that's something a fucking chump does, man. That's something a coward does. So
And then
I always go in on his ass because I just can't believe it. I just really can't believe that this guy, just I'm always baffled by these stories. You know what I'm saying?
it's like he always try to abuse his power for no reason. Okay, everybody know you own this company, but same time you own this company, but same time your superstar they want to bring the money in. They put in the seats up. So at the end of the day, like you said a while back, he didn't care about mankind. Whereas what he didn't care about, it was like another superstar you said he didn't care about, who Jim Ross brought in.
He if and I guess we can kind of cover this a little bit right now. And what's crazy? It's like I told you, I always listen to Jim Ross's podcast because I mean the guy keeps it 100,000 on every one of his episodes. He's a guy that he was a baby boy and he loved the wrestling game. I think much like us, I think we can very much relate to Jim Ross. And even though he's an old head now, he still makes a lot of great points on the game because pro wrestling is, in my opinion, pro wrestling is going to be a game that's going to be around forever. But I was listening to him cover Vengeance from '01 when they had the four-man bracket that was Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and The Rock. He had four guys. He had those four big guys, and he didn't really particularly care for Chris Jericho at one point. They brought him in, and I don't know what problems he had. I don't know what issues he had, but basically they signed him, and then they were going to bury him at the not even at the mid card. I think they were just going to put him like on dark matches or something. They were starting to. They didn't even give the fucking guy a shot. With Steve Austin, if I'm not mistaken, he'd never even seen Steve Austin wrestle. So when they brought him in, they were like, "Oh, this guy's a bad motherfucker. He's a good wrestler. He puts together great matches." And basically, he was like, "Oh, so he's a good mechanic." And Jim Ross was like, "Yeah, he's a good wrestler. He's a good mechanic, but he's got a great amount of potential." He's like, "All right, let's bring him in and we'll put him with Ted DiBiase." He didn't even bother looking at the guy's tapes.
Wow.
Then you had Mick Foley. Who he basically was like, oh, Mick Foley's a stunt guy. He's the guy that he's the guy that gets thrown into stuff. He's like, I don't really care for that. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna sign him though, so you can watch him fail. In so many words, that's what he told Jim Ross.
Wow.
Actually, if I'm not mistaken, he always says the quote perfectly. He says, I'm gonna sign Mick Foley so you can know what it feels like to have your heart broken because this guy's gonna let you down. That's what he told Jim Ross, man. And let me tell you something. You better believe that when they were selling Mankind masks and when they were selling Sacco and whenever those stadiums were full to watch Triple H at the Royal Rumble at Madison Square Garden, in that street fight they had in 2000, at the Hell in a Cell they had in No Way Out in 2000. I remember all these Mick Foley matches because I think I
Yes, I
had all the
remember as
tapes.
well.
I mean, I remember them like it was yesterday. I remember running to the store asking my dad for $40. Hey, Dad, can I have $40? I'm gonna go buy the new WWE shit just came out. I need to go get it. And so I remember going to get that, and you better believe that whenever Mick Foley had that man's pockets fat, you better believe he wasn't saying that shit then. That's what I don't like about this man is that he never even bothered. He's in the wrestling game, and he never even bothered to watch the wrestlers. That's what's crazy to me.
But it was he took away five bill and just just pretty much sit there and actually almost kill the company. To be honest,
And
if
what's crazy is that we don't know if that's not a done deal yet. In the sense that I know they got that money, I know they got the licensing, I know they got the investments, but his negative impact on the company is still there. They're not the company they were 20 years ago, man.
right, because like you say, that sexual misconduct on him, that right there alone. we're not drive fence in the building, especially women's and their kids, because they're not gonna support pretty much a predator pretty much. So that's why pretty much what, we gotta move you from period, we gotta move you out of here because it's not a good look for the company. If you stay on the scene a year from now, we might don't have a company.
We are 100% right. I think it did damage the viewership for the company. I think he had already done a lot of damage to the viewership. First of all, a lot of the guys that he was pushing um, weren't really getting him the results. I mean, how long was Roman Reigns in the main event scene before he actually got on recently with the acknowledge me gimmick? He was
Ooh,
pushing this guy. He was pushing this guy for almost 10 years, if I'm not
10
mistaken.
years, about 10
Some
years.
Something like that. I want to say I even saw a YouTube video where the What Culture Wrestling covered it. But basically, his negative impact on the company, I think, just this is the crazy part. I think it finally hit. I think it hit that level of, all right, we just can't do it anymore. We just the board that was around him. I think even pretty much the people in the back. I think the people that were working with him in production. I think the writers. I think everybody that was back there, even his right hand men. I think even they were like, you know what, we need to get this guy out of here. This guy ain't doing nothing. Like this company is depending a lot on the money from Saudi Arabia, from a crooked ass country. And don't get me wrong, I know the U.S. has its things too, but we're talking about a place where the women wrestlers can't even show their arm skin. They got to go out there in bodysuits to wrestle.
Right.
It's fucking pathetic. They're over there taking that blood money. Then they're over here depending on NBC money, the NBC money from Peacock to
Peacocks.
keep the WWE to keep the WWE network alive. Like he's over here lining his pockets, and then he's got to keep talent, which is crazy. Which is once again crazy when you think about it. The reason they cut so much talent during the pandemic and going into the pandemic, and even up until now, recently, they've been still been cutting people. It's because they know damn well they've paid too much money to certain talent to keep them around to basically not to stop them from going anywhere since they have a couple. There's still a couple wrestling companies out there that you know they can get. There's wrestlers that can go to the small companies and still get on. It's not all about the WWE, and they've done so much of that they had to start cutting costs. I mean, Vince has ruined this company for since God knows when. I mean, he's been messing with this company since I couldn't even tell you. And like I said, we're gonna get into a couple more topics here about this whole thing. But I mean, this I think like you said, how can men, mothers take their daughters to watch this show, regardless of it being Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, Alexa Bliss, Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch. How can they go take how can they take their little girls or little boys to go see this shit, knowing the boss has been abusing women since God knows when? You know what I mean? So like you said, like not only did it affect the viewership, but he just continued to to keep turning their public image black and blue. I mean,
Exactly.
he was just putting a hurt on their public image, and you can't. I mean, you can't sustain that. Yeah, at some point you got to stop it. And I think, like you said, like he had his wife, he had his daughter. I mean, I'm sure even his daughter was like, "Hey, man, what's your problem, brother?" I mean,
Exactly. Huh?
I'm sure the daughter knows that's his. I mean, I know she knows her father. Put it that way. I know she wasn't too surprised.
It make a lot of sense now why Shane McMahon was on the scene. It make a lot of sense now. He probably knew what was going on, but he probably didn't want to be affiliated with that at all because it's his father. Father, he didn't want had nothing to do with that at all. So that's why he just drifted on away from the company. So when everything popped up, oh Vince did it, Vince did it. His name won't be tied up to it.
Yeah, and I mean, he's always been really good about that. You got to give Shane some credit. He's always been good about kind of. He's like, you know what, like he's like, if ain't nothing good going around here, I'm gonna take my business elsewhere. And he's always done, like you said, he's good, man. He just faded away, and you haven't heard from him. And and guess what? And also, he didn't come out and say anything. He didn't come out and say, you know what, fuck that motherfucker. He didn't come out and say anything like that. He just kind of minded his business, and he's like, you know what? Those allegations being in the public are damaging enough. I don't gotta say nothing.
Exactly. So now, Vince McMahon is in the back seat and Shane in the front seat right now.
Absolutely, man. Like he ain't got nothing. He ain't got nothing to worry about. And and like you said, he looks better off for it. He looks better off because he's always been the one that kind of they've always been the company's always been one to bring him back when they need like some star power from him. Whenever they've needed
Right.
him to bring some shine back to the company in a sense, because the fans still
Yes,
love
absolutely.
nostalgia. They still love some of the personalities from the Attitude Era, and Shane McMahon made his name in the Attitude Era. But like you said, he knows when to fade away. He knows when he knows when to leave because he wants to keep himself good. He wants to keep his image good. And I don't blame the guy. Like you said, he's that's what he did. And like you said, he right now he is sitting pretty. I'm sure if anything, if he were to come back eventually to the WWE, it wouldn't be a
Oh,
surprise. And
oh,
now
he's
that I'm
back
sitting here
already.
thinking, oh, is he
He's
really?
back. He's back. He's ahead. He's ahead. He took Vince job.
Oh shit. Okay, I'm gonna
He
have to
took
read on
Vince
that. That's what's
job.
up.
He took Vince job, and Johnny was, who was the writer for WWE? I forgot who was the writer was behind the scene. He kicked him
There
to the
was a,
curb.
oh
He
shit.
kicked
Okay, there
he
was a
kicked him
couple
to the
guys. There's
curb.
like Bruce Pritchard and a couple other guys, if I'm not
When he
mistaken.
kicked him to the curb, he put Triple H right there.
Nice. All right, bet. All right, I didn't know
Yeah,
that. Okay, I'm
yeah,
gonna have to,
Triple
I'm
H
gonna
is
have to do
right
my
there now.
research.
So now you're seeing all these all these NXT stars. Now he's starting to shine now because Triple H in control now. All these stars, like for example, you had who had one to leave? The chick from Japan. She had one to leave, and
Oscar?
no, it's another from NXT.
Oh, was it Io Shirai?
Yes, her. She had one to leave. Cause about 3 weeks ago, I had read an article about it. She wanted to go back to New Japan. All of a sudden, she comes out for SummerSlam. I said, "Oh, okay." So now I see, it's her, Bailey, and it's another chick in NXT. They all three together. I said, "Oh my, okay." To me, I said, "Okay." I see what you're doing right here. He making a female next group pretty much, like a Roman Reigns, a former Shield group pretty much. They want to look at it. It's like a
Oh
woman
yeah,
Shield
because
group.
he put Bailey, Io
Yes.
Shirai, and I forget the other one. Oh,
Yeah, I
Dakota
forgot.
Kai.
Yeah. They all
Dakota
three
Kai.
together. I said, okay, that's a new shield for the women right there. And I said, okay, I see where you're going with this.
But you know what's crazy is, like I said, I was doing my research as far as like the talent's concerned, and we can straight up tell the listeners right now we're gonna kind of transition into what Vince, the way Vince is kind of muddled and just kind of fucked up the talent pool, like everything that Marcus just spoke on. Um, Basically, were talents that were on NXT, and then they were flip flopping from NXT to the main roster. The main roster being Raw slash SmackDown, and a lot of these talents he would bring up, and he wouldn't even give them a shot. But going back to what you were talking about, Marcus, and transitioning into Vince fucking up the talent pool, like I said, I was doing my research. Man, I mean, I can't tell you how many guys for a guy that took over NXT and kicked Triple H to the curb at one point to take over NXT. He damn sure was using a lot of NXT talent because I can tell you off the top of my head that who's the dude that was with Bad Bunny, Damian Priest.
Yes.
Damian Priest was on NXT, brother.
Exactly.
Uh, Finn Balor, NXT. Who's Baron Corbin,
NXT.
Baron Corbin, NXT. Bray Wyatt, NXT.
NXT.
I
Steph
could go on.
Rollins.
All Seth Rollins, NXT. I could go on for days. All the women, all the women,
NXT.
all the women NXT. For a guy that wanted to kick Triple H to the curb because NXT wasn't working, it damn sure sounds like it was working. So this is a guy, like I've always told you. He doesn't watch wrestling. Not a fan of wrestling. He's always been one to give the wrestling. He's always been one to monetize the wrestling platform. He knows how to line his pockets off of wrestling, but he's always needed people to pitch the ideas to him. It almost seems like he's the guy with the money to fund the movie, but he doesn't know how to create the movie. He needs someone to tell him how they're going to shoot the movie, and then he lets the money, and then he lets the money flow. That's Vince McMahon
Absolutely.
for you. A guy who fronts to be a wrestling promoter who doesn't know dick about wrestling, brother. And the reason I bring up the research I was talking about is I noticed I stopped watching WrestleMania. I think after Wrestle I stopped watching the WrestleManias really after like WrestleMania. 30, just because I was kind of, I thought whenever I won't lie to you, whenever they broke Undertaker's streak, I was very brokenhearted about that. I was kind of sick about that, man.
I
And
was too.
I remember being sick about CM Punk quitting as well. And the reason I bring up this research was because you look at WrestleMania's 30 through 31, and excuse me, 30 through 32, and you see a lot of Vince McMahon's handiwork in the negative sense. If you remember, WrestleMania 30 was the triple threat: Daniel Bryan, Orton, and Batista. And let's not forget that wasn't Daniel Bryan was not going to be part of that main event until the fans forced his hand. WrestleMania 31, the main event was Roman and Brock. One of can you believe that? We're talking about WrestleMania 31, and they were still headlining. They were still the main event. And we're
Wow.
in 2022, and they're still the main
Exactly.
event. It just goes to show the guy doesn't have a creative idea in his pinky, let alone his brain. Uh, so then they push Seth Rollins, like you said, NXT guy. They put him, let him cash the money in the bank at that main event. But then you look at the undercard, and you got a guy like Rusev taking on John Cena, and then Rusev, who was red hot at that moment, eventually as the years pass, the WrestleManias pass, the fire kind of dwindles on him. They keep him on the mid card to the lower card. Eventually, a guy that was on the verge of being a superstar gets flamed out because of Vince, and eventually they cut him. Eventually they fuck with his wife. And then if you look at WrestleMania 32, which was in Dallas, which is Triple H and Roman, and once again, we're talking about Roman, who once again wasn't very popular with the fans. And then they put Triple H, who's very old in the game by then, shouldn't be headlining a WrestleMania. You had him in the mix, and if I'm not mistaken, that was voted one of the worst WrestleManias in a long time
It
because you had
was.
Brock take on Dean Ambrose, and then you had the Undertaker taking on Shane McMahon of all things in that Hell in a Cell where they literally had Shane almost kill himself just to basically bring in viewers. If you
Exactly.
remember, he recreated the mankind getting
I just
thrown
about
off
to
the Hell in
say
a Cell.
that. I just about to
So
say that.
once again they had to bring back that moment. You know what I mean? They had to bring back that moment so the viewers could see it, recreated with Undertaker and Shane in order to get people interested again. So basically, they had to bring back an old idea with new players to try to bring the fans back in, which once again just shows the impotence and the unintelligence of this guy, man. I mean, this guy doesn't have a creative bone in his body, and I'm glad that you brought up Triple H because, like you said, he's already making moves. He just brought Karrion Kross back. He brought these three girls back: Bailey, Dakota Kai, Io Shirai. He brought them back and put them in a stable Shield style to make them relevant. You know what I mean? He he's got Drew McIntyre in the title picture, which he should have been the whole time.
Exactly.
The guy looks like a movie star. I mean, it's just crazy to me. I mean, this is the best thing that could have happened to the company, but it's just insane that Vince still to this day probably takes all the credit for every other superstar in the game, every other great match. I mean, this guy can this if you ran into this guy at a bar or a steakhouse, I guarantee you he would tell you that these are all his ideas, even though that's the furthest thing from the truth.
Absolutely, he would. Absolutely. Like you said, it's like with Vince, like you said, he want to push out the money. Also had an idea, but same time, like you said, he don't care about pro wrestling. All he care about is the money. It's something always matter: money, 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 and women, women, women. Okay, who's the pretty? This is another reason why I knew he was sick in the head. He said this is about what I think about a year ago, or 6 months ago, something like that. He said they would no longer hire female wrestler they past 25 years old. They're right there alone. I'm like,
It's
what?
ridiculous. It's
I'm like,
ridiculous.
what? I'm like,
Makes
what?
no sense.
25? Like, that don't make sense at all. Why would you stop the age of them at 25? Oh, because I guess he like them young. And they young, some might have full developed yet, so he take full advantage of them.
So, I mean, and we're talking about a 77-year-old man who, quite frankly, should have retired ages ago.
Right.
And I mean, what kind of shit is that? I mean, give me a break, man. Just more ignorant shit from this, you know, from this from this unintelligent, impotent motherfucker. Like, come on, man.
See, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Like you saying, he kept throwing same old people in our face. I can't say this. Roman Reigns finally found his character, his style. But my thing is, the fan got tired of it. But now it's like the day one and all that. They got a good chemistry going right now. But Roman Reigns tired right now. You can see in his eye. You can see in his eye. He trying to carry the load because Vince put so much pressure on that man. Okay, I want you to do this. I want you to do this. I want you to be the next Undertaker. I want you to be the next Rock. I want you to be the next John Cena. You put so much on one man. This man got to do two. This man got to be on Raw and SmackDown in the house shows as well. It take a toll on somebody's body. So take one of them off that man, like you said. Give one to Drew McIntyre. Or matter of fact, put Steph Rollins back in the picture because he's still, to me, Steph Rollins is the best wrestler in the industry, hands down. My book.
I have to agree with you, man, because I can't disagree with that in the sense that Seth has always been he's always been very adaptable. Um, I don't know if he's I haven't watched too many of his matches, but it seems like he's improved from injuring guys. I know he was kind of raw in the game a little bit and probably nervous about being in the main event picture. But I can't disagree. I can't disagree with the best wrestler in the game tag that you just put on him because I mean the guy can go. The guy's always in shape. The guy's dependable. Like they said, the best ability. I want to say I heard Charles Barkley say this shit. The best ability is availability. And I
Yes.
mean, Seth has always been there. Seth has the look. And you know the sad part about Seth? You can look at Seth even currently with the Joker, with the wannabe Joker gimmick and every other gimmick they put on him, the
It's,
Monday Night Messiah.
I just
You
about to
can look
say
at all
that.
this. You can look at all this corny shit. I mean, they might as well made the man Doink the Clown while they were at it. I
Exactly.
mean, they've had this man do so much dumb shit.
And guess
Um,
what?
it, I mean, they could have just let the man be himself and just be the alpha. Just be, go out there and tell everybody
Exactly.
that you're the best motherfucking wrestler in the world.
And guess what?
That's
The fans still love him. Even they try,
because they know.
they still love him. Every time he come out there, his theme song, it's like okay, that Lord should say should told us okay, the fans still love this guy. We need to put the title back on him because the more you go out there, all that right then, okay, he's still okay, he still got it. But
Absolutely. And
it's just
let's not
Vince.
forget it. Say it again.
It's just Vince. Vince wants things his way.
Absolutely. He was like, you know what, this guy, and let's go back to one of your points. He's got a kid with Becky Lynch. He's with Becky Lynch. Maybe Vince is thinking in the back of his mind, oh, you know what? This guy thinks he's badass. He's over here with this, with this phenomenally beautiful wrestler. He over here knocked her up. You know what? Let me show this guy I'm the boss. I'm gonna put him in the mid card. I'm gonna put him on the undercard.
You
I'm
know
gonna
what
hold this
one?
guy. I'm gonna hold this guy down. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if that was why he wasn't even in the title picture.
You know what one? I never thought about that until you just said it. I never
Yeah.
thought about that. That make
I
a lot of
mean,
sense now.
and
Cause
then going.
how you go from being on top all of a sudden to mid card all of a sudden just bam out the blue. You just
Oh,
get dropped.
not even a mid card, a joke, brother,
The moment, yeah.
a walking clown, man. Oh, they got this. They might as well, like I told you, they might as well have dressed this guy up in a dress. I mean, this guy's, and like you said, how do you go from the main event to just being some opener, some undercard opener? Let's not get it twisted too. He he uh he was a good soldier. He's been a good soldier. I haven't heard the guy complain once. He is 100% a true soldier in the game of wrestling because I have not heard that man do one bad interview where he came out and said, you know what, these motherfuckers here got me out here dressed up in some flowery tuxedo and they got me laughing like a fucking weirdo. He has not come out and said one negative thing about the company. He went out there and he's done his job perfectly. He has not complained. He's a good, like I said, he's a good soldier. And in a way, maybe it's some sort of karma because I think he's about to get back on, like you said, because Triple H is in the building.
exactly because it's like this. It was like I can't say this on Stone Cold Steve Awesome podcast. He said kind of situation like Bret Hart had with Vince. He didn't agree with what Vince had wanted to do and all that. He said he got so mad that he had want to punch Vince.
And no one would have blamed him.
He said,
Not
cause
one
he
person
said,
would have blamed him.
yeah, cause he said he knew what he wanted to do. He knew what he wanted to do, but Vince had wanted to do something else. And eventually Vince had went where Cassidy went and it worked out.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like Vince has always been that way. That's the thing that's crazy to me that I feel like that the fans need to understand a little more. And don't get it twisted. A lot of the fans now are a little bit more. They follow the news a little more. They like to hear the backstage stuff. I've never been a real big fan of the backstage stuff just because I don't like to know. Like if I'm watching the Rumble and I see AJ Styles come out, like when he came out that one year, I remember I don't read any of this shit. I don't read about the gossip and all that. So whenever I saw that on YouTube, oh man, my skin was I had the goosebumps. I was going crazy. I
Exactly.
had just seen him in New Japan, and then I see him at the WWE at the Rumble. I'm like, oh man. And what I'm trying to say is that the fans now are a lot smarter. Like you
Right.
have these guys doing interviews, like on the Stone, on the Broken Skull podcast and stuff, on those interviews that they do with on the network. And you have a lot of a smarter fan base, but at the same time, I mean, you know, not every fan likes to know the dirt and likes to know the gossip and
Behind the
stuff.
scenes,
So
yeah.
behind the scenes, so it's kind of refreshing to see him do that interview and maybe put that out there then. But he didn't go anywhere and say, oh yeah, I'm having these problems and basically putting his business out there. He didn't have to do any of that. So
You know
like
what
I
I
said,
see?
he's a good soldier.
You know what I see right now at this moment? Why he's still in a prime? I would
Hmm.
love to see this main event right here: AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura.
Absolutely, man. And you know what's crazy is Shinsuke's another guy they took from NXT that Triple H had signed to NXT, who had great matches with Samoa Joe. He had some matches with Finn. They bring it up to the main roster. They don't know what to do with him. And
Exactly.
and now and now if they can bring that back, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they brought it back and they made it relevant because those are two guys that can hit hard. Those are two guys that can probably give you a great series of matches with no bullshit involved, no hardcore stupid shit, no corny ass shit, people popping out of cakes, none of that shit. They can just give you straight up pro wrestling and the fans will eat it up. So I'm hoping I'm
Exactly.
hoping you're right about that one because the WWE roster is one of the most underused rosters out there, man. When you
You know
got
what?
guys like Dolph Ziggler and Shinsuke on the bench, I mean that's pathetic, man.
Right. It's like one. It's like having a good fantasy team, but you don't put the right players in every week to win.
Oh, absolutely. On purpose though. On purpose though.
Exactly on purpose.
On purpose though. Oh, you're like, oh, you know what? Now we want to lose, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, like I said, man, Vince has always been one to. I've always heard like the stuff in the rumors and all that, and I don't. Like I said, I don't like reading that stuff. Vince has always been one that he wants to give guys gimmicks and all this other dumb shit, and I'm just like, what is this? Once again, I sit here doing this interview with you, and I'm like doing the podcast with you, and I'm like, what did this guy ever know about wrestling? I mean, is it a shock to anybody that he damn near went bankrupt in the mid '90s when they were taking on WCW and WCW had that great stable in the NWO? It shouldn't have shocked anyone that he almost went out of business because the guy's an idiot.
Right.
To this day, he's an idiot.
Exactly. At this moment, he should be seeing Eric Bischoff, Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan, Rich P. Scott Hall, a check every month because if it wasn't if Eric Bischoff would have did just a little bit right, we probably talking about WWE right now.
We wouldn't be talking about WWE at all, man. We'd be talking about we'd be talking about Eric Bischoff and probably everybody else working under that company and
Yes,
maybe we would have gotten the Stone Cold versus Hogan at one point. You never know. But yeah,
exactly.
like you said, yeah, he did shit. And from what I was reading is that Vince still got to leave the company under ownership of about $3.4 billion. So, I mean, I know we're shitting on him on this podcast, but I mean the guy's well off. I mean he's not going to sleep crying. He's going to sleep fat and happy.
Right.
So I know we're over here speaking on it, but we had to address that shit though.
Yeah,
We had to
we fans,
yeah.
we got opinion. We can voice our opinion.
Yeah, we can voice the opinion. And not only that, it's just as fans who love wrestling, who kind of would have wanted to be in the game. I mean, in another lifetime, maybe we could have been wrestlers. You know what I'm saying? But I think this, like I said, the sad part is it's crazy to think that this guy, so close to the sport, so within the sport, treated just like you said, like his own private sex club, like his own, like his own little project, like his own little stupid, you know, his stupid little piggy bank that he can fuck with people and make his money. Like it's shocking to me, man. It's crazy to me. And like you said, all these wrestlers built this company, yet this motherfucker wants to walk around like he's the one that was in the ring with a fucked up spine, like he was the one in the ring, damn near paralyzed. I think that's what makes me mad as a fan. You know what I mean? But that's neither here nor there, my brother.
You know what? It make a lot of sense now when they say Brock Lesnar should be so mean to him. Brock Lesnar know a lot more what people don't know. That's why Brock treated him how we had treated him. Brock, at the match over, Brock, take the belt, just sling it, back to Bray like here, give me the belt.
Yeah.
Brock Brock didn't care. The moment he found out that Vince had retired, I said, okay, Brock done now. He done because he getting up in age. He's not about to take no command from nobody. He's same age as him. He's not gonna do that. He's not gonna do that.
And one last thing to put a bow on that whole thing, with the Brock thing. Let me kind of give you also, like, I think the most important part of that whole equation is that going forward, the checks that Vince was cutting him to keep him happy, they're not about to sign those checks again, man. They're not about to pay that man no multi-million dollars to show up for 2 3 pay-per-views and then do a couple shows. They're not Vince was paying him that money. Nobody else is gonna co-sign that. Stephanie's not gonna pay him that money. The board's not gonna pay him that money. I know for damn sure Triple H isn't gonna be like, yeah, man, go ahead, and because Triple H is like, who's next man up? I know that for sure. Triple
exactly.
H is like, I don't need Brock Lesnar to sell pay-per-views. I'll make another star.
Exactly. If you think about it, WWE sign, if you in development in that team, they're gonna sign you to I think like a $250,000 deal at the most. I think just a
Yeah,
development contract. So,
yeah.
like you said, why not go down NXT, and build your star up, and hey, once you get to the main roster, they say,
And,
okay, we're
and
gonna
he
sign
was
you
already
to
doing it. He was already
exactly,
doing it without saying it. Triple H never had to say it.
exactly,
They were Vince had the pipeline right there. He just wants to act like it wasn't there. I'm
right,
telling you, Vince is that dude, man. Vince is a fucking hater. Like Vince is like, oh, there's something wrong with NXT. What was wrong with NXT, man? You got Shinsuke from there, you got Finn Balor from there, you got Sasha Banks, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Asuka. You got everybody from there, man.
exactly.
You got a
To
women's division because of NXT. What's wrong with NXT? But all of a sudden, something's wrong with NXT. You know why? Because they was getting too much credit. Because he wasn't getting no credit.
it was why I couldn't tell you why because people more excited to watch the NXT takeover than the pay per view. That's
You,
why.
you you know what's crazy is that we were talking about that shit in 2015, 2016, and I remember
Yep,
telling you that I went to class on a Monday and saw a couple people wearing NXT takeover shirts to class, and I was thinking in the back of my mind, wow, the NXT shows are outshining the actual pay-per-view shows.
yes,
And I remember thinking that then. And I think eventually it just trickled down to this dude, and he was just like, I'm sure there was way too many people telling this guy, oh man, NXT, NXT. And he finally just got sick of hearing it. And he went in there and he shut that shit down under under the under the excuse that, oh man, they just man, y'all ain't just ain't doing good enough, man. Y'all just ain't y'all can't hack it right now, man. Y'all ain't so it's just like I said, Vince has always been that guy. Vince is the guy that sees you having a good day, he wants to see you have a bad day. So all I gotta say about that is he's always been a hater, and going back to the Brock Lesnar topic, like we were saying, um, no one's gonna pay him that money, man. No, I know Brock's gonna. I know Brock's unhappy because maybe they're gonna like you said, he took orders from Vince because Vince probably let him do what he wanted to do, and now that someone else is calling the shots, he's not going to be able to have that leeway, which
Exactly.
is crazy. I don't buy that either. I think if it was Triple H, I think Triple H would be like, "Hey, Brock, what's up? What do you think we should do?" Because Brock's a star. Brock's not an idiot. Brock's a
Let me
star
tell,
too. But I think it's the money at the end of the day.
let me tell you who it was. Let me tell you who exactly who it was. Because when he found out that Vince had retired, he left the ring and everything. And Stephanie called him personally and said, "If you don't show up, you don't get paid."
Hey, brother. Hey, that's all you had to say. That's all she had to say.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm telling you, hey, that money's
Yeah.
hey, money is very important, brother,
Exactly. You ain't think
especially
about
in the
that.
wrestling game.
You ain't think about it.
Absolutely.
So let me tell you, I'm flying all the way from Canada to the States to the event and leave without nothing. Nah, he changed his mind, came
Yeah,
back. And to be honest,
absolutely, man.
like you said about NXT, to be honest, once they changed NXT to 2.0, I haven't watched it ever since then. I couldn't tell you who on there, to be honest.
Man,
Ever
please,
since
I'm the same way, man. I was like, I'm not watching that stupid shit.
ever since Trey, guy, took it off, that's you know what? I can't watch this. It's like, it's
Yeah,
like I
man.
can't watch it.
It was like watching it was like watching a bad like it was like watching a bad comedy show, to be honest with you. Because I would get the YouTube little, I'm not that I watched it, but I would get the little YouTube clips on my feed, and I wouldn't even bother. I'd just be like, man, get out of here, man. You know, get out of here. Yeah, for real. Sorry, Marcus. I'll tell you what. We should record again sometime down the line this week again, so we could do a SummerSlam review.
Absolutely.
Um, it's been a good episode, man. I'll share it. Go ahead and share it. You can post it. You got my shit. You could throw me on YouTube any day of the week, man. But I gotta say thank you, Marcus. I really appreciate you setting the room up and laying out your opinions and your fanfare and your viewpoint as a hardcore fan, because I know how much of a fan you are. You're
Oh,
you're as much as
yes.
a fan as I am, if not even more of a fan. So, like I
To
said, I
be
appreciate having this conversation with you, man.
absolutely correct. To be honest, me personally, how we think on WWE, I said to myself, okay, Royal Rumble. No one ever thought about this Royal Rumble. Did right before 2.0 I have, I said, okay, you take the hottest WWE NXT superstar, you put him in the Royal Rumble and have them to win it. That would blow everybody's mind.
And you know what's crazy is that you just may have put Triple H's next move on the table. Real shit. No, no bullshit. Because that sounds cool.
No one we not expect that, the hottest NXT, he got everything, the charisma, everything. You put him
And
in
that,
the Royal Rumble and have him win it. Everybody,
and
oh
that's how
my
you make
God.
and that's how you make a star.
Exactly.
Especially someone that's putting in the work. I mean, especially someone that
Exactly.
deserves it. So shit. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna be on the lookout for that. But shit, you should fucking at WWE on Twitter, man. Real shit. I'm not even playing. You should do that, man. Let them know, hey, I got some shit for y'all. Let me go work for y'all. I'll throw y'all some ideas. I got some ideas
Exactly.
better than Vince's.
I tell you, I came out the womb wrestling fan. Literally as
Hey, I
a
feel
womb
you.
wrestling fan.
I did too, man. My dad put me onto that shit, so I've always been a fan. I always respect the game too, man. I never think it's people always go, it's fake. I mean, I love it, man. I love the game. It ain't fake, man. It's
Yeah, tell
it's
you,
it's only it's choreographed, but man, it ain't fake. Nothing fake
my
about it,
thing
man.
is, like I said, I respect the talent and everything else. My saying, okay, you say it fake, you go on the road 365 days out of the year and take
Oh
bumps
yeah,
and bumps and bumps at the night and see how you feel at the end of the
absolutely,
year.
absolutely,
Back
man.
surgery and all that, replace hips and all that.
Yep. Blown out muscles, man. All
Exactly.
that. Yeah, man. All right, Marcus, man. Well, we're gonna wrap this one up.
Yes, sir.
Um, I'll definitely, like I said, I'm gonna hit you up about recording second episode. I think we should do a SummerSlam review,
Absolutely.
along with some other topics. I know we've been doing the other sports podcasts, but maybe one on pro wrestling is also one that me and you can do more consistently.
Right.
So, all right, brother. I'm gonna go on ahead and sign off and appreciate you, miss you, man, love you. God bless you,
Appreciate you, brother.
and we'll be recording soon, man. And like I said, share this motherfucker because hey, I wanna, you know what I'm saying? I wanna, shit, I wanna hear that. I wanna hear some fan opinions from some other folks too. You feel me?
Exactly. Who's Michael Myers on my stage?
Absolutely, absolutely, man. All right, my brother. Well, you have a good night. All right, I'll be talking to you.
Yes, sir.
All right, later, buddy.
All right.
Later.
This episode right there, break the wall down. So if you like it, please give a like on YouTube and follow and share it, because it's just getting started. Wait, break the wall down. Yes, break the wall down on Clubhouse. It's coming soon, so y'all be ready. Stay tuned in. Y'all have a blessed day. Have a blessed night. Meantime, stay cool.